All right, so before we get into the nitty gritty of the season 9, episode 3 of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, we're going to leave this short little 20-second gap before we actually start the show, simply because a lot of people take their time getting here, and when they get in, they actually have to watch ads. And we want them to watch ads because it's ad revenue. But at the end of the day, we want to welcome a couple of representatives here from FiTech because we're doing our manufacturer's spotlight. If you're here for the first time, my name is Jason. I am the car guy of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, and my partner in crime over here is...
I'm Grant Tommy, straight Six Fan on YouTube. That makes me Six Fan of this operation we like to call the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. And so, yeah, we are excited to be highlighting FiTech. And with that, we'll turn it down to our guests and let them introduce themselves here real fast.
All right, excellent. I'm Bryce over at FiTech Fuel Injection, quality control manager, head the customer service department for any of the tech stuff.
I'm Mike Wall. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing for FiTech Fuel Injection.
Well, guys, it's great to have you here as part of season 9 on the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. We've been doing this for a little while, and we've always had guests, but we always have guests who are basically doing the same thing that we are. We're either YouTubers or we're some sort of a personality and just trying to get exposure to everybody. And we said for season 9, we want to start talking to some of the people who have helped us out in the past. And as you can see over my shoulder here, I've got FiTech on my little banner here because FiTech has sponsored my channel in the past. And it's very appreciated that you guys are doing this for smaller YouTube channels as well as the bigger ones to help us not just get our names out there, but help get your name out there as well. So tell us a little bit about FiTech, how long it's been around, kind of the grassroots of where it started.
All right, well, I'll let you start with that one since you kind of have a good answer for that.
All right, so I mean, kind of the start of the company was trying to create an affordable throttle body EFI system to sell to the market. I'm not one of the co-founders of the company, but it was told to me very early on and instilled in the company. The mindset was the only way to really get EFI into carbureted people's hands is to make an affordable fuel injection.
Under $1,000.
So we hit that goal with getting EFI under $1,000. And about at that price point, people are looking at a $600 carburetor, or they're like, hey, I can do fuel injection for a little bit more. So they are doing that jump. One of the things that we learned really quick is when you start grabbing from the carburetor market, now you're teaching fuel injection. So it's a whole new realm, but it was a big challenge that we took on head on. And I would have to say, have done pretty successful with it.
Yeah, what we started in 2015 was when the brainchild was born. I think we sold our first unit. 2016 is when it actually hit a market on a very small volume.
Yeah, 2015, the end of 2015, we went to SEMA for the first time, had just a huge response off of it. Mm-hmm. And it just, from there, once we started selling it, launched off real quick. And
I think for the first 4 years, there was a constant back order and we could never catch up. The brand grew so fast that there was never a foundation put underneath it. So it was a lot of like every day was wild west. You didn't know what you were walking into in the building, and it was phone calls nonstop. What parts are showing up, we don't know. Just get something out the door and figure it out as you go. Very small staffed, and I think that made us a little bit stronger for what we do today because we're still super small company. People don't realize that we have under 30 employees company-wide.
That's an amazing to have built the empire that you have off of. Yeah, 30. That is really impressive. And
yeah, there's many hats that are worn by each individual in our building every day. I mean, it's any one of my guys in our warehouse can go down and do somebody else's job, and that's from the top level to the very bottom level.
That's awesome.
The janitor can come upstairs and answer sales calls. I mean, that's how we train, and that's what we do.
Well, and it's like you said, you got to teach fuel injection to the carburetor guys, and obviously the best way to appeal to the carburetor guys is when they don't have to change out their intake manifold and the throttle body itself kind of looks like a carburetor. You can kind of fake that for a bit. And I guess what I'm ultimately getting at is, the throttle body injection form of fuel injection has come a long way in the last 2.5 decades. I mean, I think back to GM's throttle body injection from 1988 compared to where we are now. So talk a little bit about when you guys decided to get in the game. How did you go about, like your R&D? How did you go about determining this is the way to do it and to hit that price point?
So one of the big things was keeping everything inclusive into the system. I know that was a big push. So the injectors are in the throttle body, 90% of the sensors are inside the throttle body, and then making it very user friendly. That was like the factors that hit hard. So your only external sensors are obviously your coolant temp sensor and oxygen sensor, because we have to meter, and that's our self-learning feature, right? Everything else is built into the system. Therefore, when you go to install it, there's 4 main wires you have to hook up in 2 sensors. You do those things, you can turn the key and start it up and run. Our wheelhouse was a Chevy 350, which was like the most common motor out there in hot rodders, and a good platform to start from for you to get up and running. And then you can go in there and, change parameters. That's the basic of what we started with. To where we're at now is a whole different ballgame. And I'll let Bryce touch on a couple of those new things that we got pumping out that is just going to shock the world again.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big jump was to get into fuel injection. That's FiTech is basically fuel injection technology. It's kind of the shortened way that it is. But now we're blossoming off into all our port injection. We have our LS line. We're getting creative. We're trying to get a little more grassroots again. Everyone has like their sheet metal type EFI LS setups, but now we're trying to do things like go retro with it. A lot of people want to have the modern technology of an LS engine, but they want to have that cool retro vibe. So we have like tri-power setups for an LS, dual quad setups for LSs, like a carbureted throttle body looking fuel injection system for LS. From that, we're also jumping over into ignition systems. So the biggest thing that we found with all of the tech support side of EFI is most of the time people are making that jump to try to make the engine run better, but they didn't successfully identify what the problem of the engine was. So a lot of times they think it was the carburetor and they can't adjust the carburetor. But in reality, it was, hey, they had a burnt plug wire or a coil was going out on the ignition. So we're bringing all of these components in so we can support the EFI in the fuel side and on Spark as well. So it's just really broadening our market on what we can do. And then we can ensure that all of our components will work together and will work on your engine, and we can support the system through and through with the customer. So,
yeah, I think one of the big things too is nailing down one particular item, perfecting it before you kind of move on to deciding I'm going to jump in, head first and try and nail down every single one. Chevy 350 has always been the go-to for hot rodders, street rodders alike. Now that the LS is becoming more and more popular, there's more standalone kits for them, blah, blah, blah. That seems to be the next small block Chevy. Do you have any products that are out there that are going to be looking forward to the Ford and the Chrysler products specifically?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of port injections for the 351 Windsor, the big block Ford. We have kits coming for those again. We used to have them. Problem was we ran into a manifold supply issue. I couldn't get anybody to make port manifolds for Fords for some reason. They just stopped or dried up, or they were trying to charge an insane amount, which I don't believe in charging a consumer an insane amount. I think things should be reasonable and affordable for our customer base. So therefore, I won't turn that over to their customer that way. So now we got a reliable manufacturer for our manifolds on that, and we're going to bring back that whole line again, which was really popular. It just dried up because of manifolds.
And speaking of manufacturing, I always ask this of our suppliers or our manufacturers. Do you manufacture in the USA? No,
we do not. I'm trying to make some parts here in the US now. The problem is we're electronics, right? So my answer to that right now is, where's your cell phone made?
Yeah.
where's almost all modern technology made right now. The one difference that we are is that we actually own a manufacturing plant in China. So our home base we actually have in China is our plant. So it goes through our assembly, our quality control before it even hits the ocean. And then when it hits the US side, we have assembly, and then we have another testing procedure that goes through here again. So there's another bench test, and then there's another engine test that's on the US side. So our defect rate is extremely low.
Yep.
One of the things we like asking our manufacturers that we spotlight here in season 9 is just like, have there been any surprise markets that you find or like, you make a product and then just because you're like, why not? But then it like sells really well and you're like, oh, never thought this would be, elevating to the top. Are there any products that the FiTech make that
perfect one? I literally have the perfect one. One of the co-founders of the company is a big 3rd gen person.
Oh, jeez.
So with that, I mean, he's back in developing and doing a lot of product development, but in his spare time, he decided to try to build an EFI system for a tune port injection motor. So a lot of people know that as like you had to pull the computer out, pull a chip out, reflash it, put it back in. So he did this on his spare time and said one day, just in one of our meetings, weekly meetings, he's like, look what I made.
Yeah.
And we're all laughing at him going, silly 3rd gen guy, whatever. We'll probably sell 50 of them a year.
I'm back ordered.
We're back ordered.
I cannot keep those suckers on the shelf. There's so many 3rd gens still out there. And all these guys held that motor. I mean, they just held it. They're like, someday it's going to come back someday. And man, it's insanity how many we sell.
Oh, yeah. So that's a real big one.
We're selling about anywhere from 5 to 25 a day of those TPI setups. Wow. I'm blown away by it. But what we did do, though, I will give him really big credit on this one. He's probably not watching because he's sleeping. I don't want his head to get any bigger than it is. But he used our LS platform for it. Mm-hmm. So you get an LS ECU to run your TPI motor. It's really going to clean up some things. So he did a really good job with that.
So because a lot of people that I've been talking to knew that you guys were going to be here, or at least Mike was going to be here tonight, that they wanted me to ask a couple of questions. And I wanted to, first of all, debunk a lot of the common myth out there that FiTech is not as good as the competition and this and that. When I got my unit, I did a lot of research on it, and price was the biggest, my biggest concern. And I started looking on a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of different places like that. You get an awful lot of people bashing, but one thing that I found was if you dig deep enough, probably 99% of the problems that people are having with their fuel injection is their install.
It's usually self-inflicted damage. And you know what? And I'm not going to lie to you either. We've had a few bugs. We've had a few mishaps as a young company where, we rushed the product to the market thinking that it was ready to go, and it wasn't. Like our Command Center 1. Genius thought process behind it, but in all reality, it was a giant carburetor bowl with a needle and seat and a float, right? Well, it worked 50% of the time. But as a company like us, what we did is we offered free exchanges for a whole year for a free exchange. It didn't matter when you bought it, where you bought it from. If you contacted us, we gave you our new setup for it, and that was just something we did to make things right. Same thing today. We had some chips go out that weren't quite as good of a chip that we thought it was, because I don't know if you guys were aware of a national chip shortage. It was in everything, even new car manufacturers. Well, what people don't understand is when that chip shortage happened, the chip suppliers were grabbing any kind of chip. That means their defective pile, they were sprinkling that into good stuff and selling it to people. That got out to a lot of people. It happened to us. We got nailed with it. The difference with what we did is you called up and you showed those symptoms. We gave you a free ECU. We could ship it to you, or you could send us our system. We got it up and we put an ECU on there and send it right back to you. That didn't matter with the warranty. It was, let's make things right. It took a while for us to figure out what it was, but once we did, it was like, hey, if you got that problem, let us know. And that's a big difference between us and a big company. Here's another big difference. We offer a 3-year warranty on all our products. Find an EFI company that does that. They don't.
You've got to, when you're a new company, you've got to stand out amongst the rest. You guys did it by price point. And now you're telling me you're doing it by warranty. You're standing behind your product as well. So if that doesn't tell you guys something about what type of company this is, if any of you guys have been following me for any amount of time at all, you know that that I did have an issue with my FiTech. And for me, I have no problem having problems with things. It's how I get dealt with when the problem happens. And look, I kept Crystal. Crystal was my contact, for getting the system. I kept her out of it. I said, you know what, I'm going to call the tech line and I'm going to see what's going on. So I called, and if I remember correctly, I think the guy's name was Joe. And he talked me through a bunch of things, and he said, you know what, I think that you've got a bad injector, something or other, and I want you to box it up and I want you to send it to us, and we're going to get one out to you right away. So like from start to finish, and you guys are in California. I'm in East Coast Canada. I was less than 2 weeks getting that shipped to you guys, and a new one shipped back, and the new one had an updated something or other. And I put almost 2,500 miles on my truck last summer and didn't skip a beat. So
yeah, that was one of the big improvements. It was the external relay box.
Exactly. And that's what it was. It was, I had to put this in line, it plugged in, and I was done.
Yep, that was one of the things that actually I'll tell you about the external relay box is those relays used to be mounted into the ECU itself. So if a relay went bad, you had to replace the whole ECU.
Yeah.
So by pulling those relays off the board and going to a much bigger, more robust relay, and then putting them in a nice little box where you have all your fuses, which got rid of the inline fuses that everybody complained about, right? Into a nice little relay box. Longevity of the product just tenfold. We haven't seen an expiration date on it now, and therefore we can back it with an extended 3-year warranty. And then we did it with all our product because we're like, why not? We do it anyways. Why not get credit for it?
Well, Bryce, I'll pick on you a little bit. It's Mike just mentioned a couple of things, that external relay fix, and as well as the Commander 1 system going out maybe too early, but since you said quality controls in your name, I figure I'll put this question in your lap. Sure. But what kinds of things, when you learn those lessons, like Mike just talked about, what kind of processes do you have in place, whether it's like a log or something? How do you take those lessons and portray them forward as you're developing new product?
Well, the biggest thing about it is being in the tech side of it. So since I'm overseeing the whole tech department, I get a lot of feedback from all of our techs on the line. If they see something, they report back. So in that process, if they find something that shows up, I'll jot it down. And then if I see it pop up again, then I'm like, okay, we need to start investigating this. And then we'll start pulling units, or we'll ask for a customer to send a unit in that has a problem, and we'll completely replace the item that is bad. And then we'll keep that. That'll go to engineering. The unit will be fixed and sent back, and then it gets dissected. So that's the stuff that ends up in the field. That's kind of how that the chip thing was found. On the other side of that is, since everything that we're doing comes into our facility in California and goes through a quality control check, a lot of things get stopped right there too. We'll see something that we don't like, and then that'll get reported back to our parent company that's manufacturing this stuff, and we'll make our revisions right away. So as Mike was mentioning earlier, how we're basically hand in hand with our overseas manufacturer, we're the same. Our communication is really, really quick. So the moment that a product lands, it gets tested within a few days, and then we call it out immediately. All of our items have serial numbers and build dates on them. So if we find something, we can pull a lot and stop it.
And then let me touch on this too. And you asked a question, and I'll answer it. Everything that we try to do for correction is backwards compatible. So the new ECU can go on a system from day one. So if you have a day one system, you can get our new ECU. Now there might be a small modification you have to do to the casting of the body, but we do everything as close as possible for you to go backwards compatible. And that's all fixes that we do across the board. Unlike the Command Center 1, there was no backwards compatible. There was no fix for that one, so there was exchange for that one. In our warranty as well, say in 3 years, 3 years is a long time. A lot of things can change. We have a clause in there that says, hey, if we can't fix or repair your unit, we'll replace it with the newest technology we have that matches your current product. So yeah, that's a huge thing. And we were touching on customer service, and I want to touch on that a little bit more. We got our asses handed to us, excuse my language, the first couple of years. I mean, legit got our asses handed to us.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have enough support. We didn't have enough policies. We didn't have, I mean, I told you it was a wild, wild west. You didn't know what you were walking into every day.
We didn't even have the right phone system.
Yeah, we didn't even have a phone system. I mean, it was bad. I mean, it was like, when I came on to FiTech, I was like, what am I going to do here? And how do I have to do this? I mean, it was insane, you know, and we have a complete renovation of this company. And it starts with our tech support to our warranty team to our RMA team that's downstairs repairing units. They now understand that they're all one team. The big thing was department fighting department. Who does this? Who gets to do that? Who has to do that? No, everybody does everything. And that was that whole thing. Anybody can do anybody's job now. On top of that, our tech support is international. I mean, now I have a Canadian on my tech line. He owned a shop in Canada. He is now answering my phones, and he's my tech support there. He's an experienced guy from day one with FiTech. I have remote guys all over the place now. And that was the trick to getting more tech guys on the phones, is offer a remote position, and it can be part-time. I don't care if you want to log in for 2 hours. I can see that you're on the phone. We'll pay you. To our warranty team, and our RMA team is now to turnaround is in 24 hours.
Yep. If
we have everything in stock, your part shows up that morning, it's out the next morning at the latest. I mean, I don't know what else to do there. And anybody, if you call in, you talk to Mary up in the front desk, you talk to any of my girls at the front desk, to anybody in my warranty team, Stephanie, to anybody in my tech, they're 100% concerned about you. They're not concerned about their image, what's wrong. They want you to get your product taken care of and back to you. And that's the big difference we made in the last few years. Well,
and it's good that you guys acknowledge the fact that there is a huge learning curve to a startup company doing something brand new, because there's a lot of companies out there who will start doing something, think that they're, king shit of Turd Island, so to speak. And I made my product. It's great product, and no, there's nothing wrong with it. So don't call me having problems, and just having to deal with bad customer service, because there's some very well known name brands out there that I've had to deal with. I'm a used car dealer, and I do a lot of this stuff on the side, that I deal with a lot of people, a lot of customer service agents, and I know when I'm getting treated like a piece of dirt.
Yeah.
Right. And being in the customer service business, you learn that very quickly. I treat people the same way that I want to be treated. If you're having a problem, I want to do everything in my power to fix it. But guess what? I want to be the one you call first. Yeah. I don't want you going to Facebook and blabbing it all over how bad the problem is. I want you to call me with the solution. And that's one of the things that I rank very highly when I'm dealing with companies. And as far as I'm concerned, FiTech is right there. And I'm not just saying that because you guys are on the show. It's because I've dealt with it. I appreciate that receiving end, and I really appreciate that great customer service. We did have a question come in from Uncle Squirrel. He's asking, does your throttle bodies work as a blow-through turbo deal?
Yeah, so we rate our systems, and if you look at them, there's PA systems, which is power adder. So our throttle body systems, we have a 600 horsepower system, we have a 1200 horsepower system, power adder. So you look at that. We did add a couple new things. They come in polished now. When we started, they only came in black finish, which we love the black finish, but we had a lot of demands for the polished finish. So our power adders now come in the polished finish as well.
Yeah, that's good. And one of the things that I like is, well, there's two things. I love love the EFI. I love the B, because in Canada we have a lot of cold climate a lot of the year. Like even in the spring, yeah, you might have a 75-degree day, but sometimes those mornings can be 40, 45 degrees.
Yep.
So just to be able to go over, let that fuel pump prime and crank that key and it starts and drive away. Is what I like about the fuel injection system. The second thing that I love is I love the fact that the one that I got, was the Go Street 400, I think they call it, is the color. Is it almost is reminiscent of the old Quadrajets that I had originally.
Yeah, we did a couple color choices just to poke at a couple people on some of our products.
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, just to have a little fun. I mean, it's we're a small dog in a powerful market, and whenever we can take a chance to bite that ankle, we're gonna do it.
Well, there's something else you said there, Mike, when you were talking about like hiring remote tech phone line technicians, and how I don't care if you work 2 hours a day or whatever, it doesn't have to be full time. I think just that creative thinking of, to run a successful business requires successful creative thinking.
Out of the box thinking. You have to be out of the box.
And just that little anecdote. I mean, I'm an architect by trade, and I realize a lot of what my job is to be a creative thinker. And it blows my mind sometimes how stiff some people can get. When you call up to work with a business, you're like, "Nope, sorry, we don't do things that way." You're like,
it's crazy. Frustrating. I have a guy that answers our emails that clocks in at 5 p.m. and works until 10 p.m. every day. And that guy catches the slack that we can't get through during the day, and people are getting answers, and that's his job. He was a full-time tech for us, and he got a better opportunity, but he didn't want to let go of FiTech. He was like, "Hey, can I still have an opportunity?" Yes, you can. Like, here's what you can do, because the phone lines are off at that point, but I have this. And he was like, 100%, I'll do it. And he's been knocking it out of the park, and it's been helping, One other thing I want to touch on tech, and this is his job, but I'll tell you right now, our tech line, maybe it'll back up a little bit, but I'll tell you, if you get one of my techs on the phone, they'll take 5 minutes with you. They'll take 2 hours with you.
Yep.
And when they're on extended calls, it backs up the queue. And that's just the nature of the beast. But what a lot of people don't understand is they're not diagnosing their problem on those 2 hour. The FiTech's problem on those 2 hour calls. They're going through your car. They're finding out what's going on with the car, what's wrong. They're sitting on a test drive with you. I mean, they're going through a lot of things to get that customer taken care of, and then they move on to the next call. Yep. So sometimes tech queue will get backed up, and it's just the nature of the beast. But we have like 30 different ways you can contact us now. So, there's how many videos do I make you guys do a year now for tech videos?
I mean, it's one a week. It's called Tech Tuesday.
Tech Tuesday.
So there's 52 of them. 52
videos a year out of these guys on top of what they do. I mean, it needs to be done. So we're doing it.
Yep. So it's there. Through all of our social media channels, if you shoot us an instant a message on any of them, we'll try to reply to you. There's our website that has the info section, our email, techmail@fitechefi.com. They'll answer anything.
We're on most of the forums.
If we're on most of the forums, we jump on those ones. If you call into our sales line and you have a basic question, they're going to try to answer it. Yeah. Like, everyone's in there to try to help. And if they don't know, they'll say, "Hey, I don't know. Let me get you the information, or let me get you someone that knows." So everyone's really on the same page on that, and it's been working really well for us.
Well, we did get another question in from the chat. So Gary Boyd was asking, he was referencing an earlier comment where Bryce, you talked about the parent company, and so he's sort of asking who actually owns FiTech. Did you want to
there's FIT, which is fuel injection technology. That's our parent company, and then FiTech, obviously the name came from that, right? Fuel injection technology, FiTech. And then so Jeremy, our engineer, worked there, or actually owns part of that company as well. Started FiTech with them. So Jeremy's an owner, U.S. dude. He lived in China for 16 years doing OEM engineering. And what else did he do over there? All the weather testing and everything on fuel injection. Yeah. So the guy's pretty hip with fuel injection, and all around knows all cars anyways. But he owns part of FiTech, and then the investment group owns part of FiTech.
Mhm.
So one of the things that another question that was asked of me to ask you guys is there's a lot of companies out there doing standalone engine management.
Yeah.
Is that something that FiTech A is doing or is looking to do at some point in time?
Well, we do the standalone. So we're let me get this out there first. We're a hot rod company. We're on the classics. We're pretty hardcore about classic cars. We will expand the FiTech brand into some more modern cars as far as the ignition side. We're going to cover a lot of that. But we're very respectful of CARB and making sure that we're not crossing lines that we're not supposed to cross. So when it comes to engine management and tuners, you got to be very careful. You look at what happened to the diesel guys. I mean, they got their world rocked by making adjustable tunes for diesels, right? So we're not going to cross that line when it comes to things, but we will find the next swap motor and we will make engine management for that. And we're working on that right now. So we know what the next big motor is going to be, and we're already making a kit for it.
So also in reference to that, I know one of the big things that I found at SEMA was with the podcast that we do, the Get Out and Drive podcast. We got to interview a lot of great people with a lot of their new products. And ACT was one of the companies that's out there, and they're battling the laws, EPA, emissions, stuff like that. Is that something that's of concern to you guys in the hot rod industry, and how are you combating the laws?
Yeah.
Place?
So we're huge supporters of SEMA. SEMA is one that's head fronting the battle with them, with the EPA anyways, or trying to figure out how we can coexist. And we're big supporters of SEMA, and we're in that battle too. And yes, it's concerning. It's very concerning to me because I think it's a very unfair way that they attack you. You get nailed and you just get fine, and shut down without really any rebuttal. I mean, they just come at you and they catch you, and they're sneaky about how they do it. And you just got to be well coursed in what you're doing and, try to stay within their guidelines. But yeah, they're sneaky. I mean, that's the bottom line, and we're coming up with some CARB EO numbers. We're working on a bunch of CARB certified product. Just because we know it's something that we have to do. We just came up with a whole rating scale to be able to sell our product to a lot of the distributors. The distributors are the ones that are really scared. Oh, yeah. So they're going after the sellers of the product, not so much the manufacturer, because there's more money from the sellers than there is the manufacturer sometimes, right? Because they're selling my product. They're probably selling 100 other dudes' products. If they're violating with my product, they're probably violating with 100 other products as well. So the fines for them, the big fish is easier to get right now, but that doesn't mean the small fish is on, looking at that bait too. So gotta be careful.
I think it's also important to remember. So we're in the car community. We love being hot rodders, and we think we're a big group, and we are to some extent. But when you talk about all the automobiles out there on the road, and then you talk about how many people are out there hot rodding it, we're a tiny sliver of that pie.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, the hot rod community or the car community, we make a big percentage though of you got to think about the jobs we provide, the revenue that we bring in when we put shows together, or look at Scottsdale here. They thrive on these car shows. I mean, they from Barrett Jackson being here to Good Guys being here twice a year to everything else at this Westworld entertainment place
out here,
Dino's Get Downs out here. I mean, Scottsdale is a entertainment hub for the car community, and it's could you imagine if CARB started shutting down all these people that come to these things? It's and it's scary for us because we're in California, and California is retarded. I'm sorry to say that word, but on some of these laws. And the scary part is there's 17 other states that like to follow exactly what California does. And it's man, that's scary stuff.
Well, and they're not always big populated states. I just wanted to interject there for a second. I live right beside Maine.
Yeah.
Maine follows California emission rules and regulations. It's a state with maybe 2 million people.
Yeah. But
right?
I mean,
California has the whole population of Canada.
Yep.
Yeah. So one of the things you were starting to talk about that what the next big motor swap is, and while you don't necessarily have to get directly there, but what else do you see coming down the pike? What else is kind of the next big thing as you guys are trying to stay on top of your part of the industry?
Well, we're doing you can tell them about the sync systems because
Okay.
we're just about done with that
So-
anyways. It's in my truck.
I mean, there's a couple of things that we're trying to blossom out of. We kind of mentioned the ignition side a little bit. We're coming out with a lot of products. One of the things that we were thinking of doing is how do we implement our LS ECU elsewhere? Like the tune port injection system, we were able to use it there. Another way that we were able to do it is we developed a basically like a distributor that has a reluctor from an LS motor that will feed a signal to the LS computer, so you can do sequential injection and port and coil on plug from an LS setup on a small block Chevy or a big block Chevy. And it's not one where you have to get all this special tools. You don't need to go out and get like a crank trigger and try to synchronize everything. It's a distributor, basically. I mean, it's not a distributor, but it drops in just like one. It looks like one, except there's no spark plug wires coming out of it. And then that opens the world to, if we just develop another distributor shaft, we could put that in a small block Ford. And then now I can do everything off of an LS engine for a small block Ford. Same can go off into any motor you can think of. I mean, whether it's a Chrysler or a Buick
And it just opens up that tuning platform so much further. And then the coil on plug is just phenomenal to begin with. I mean, there's
yeah, it's a much more precise way of running an engine. And then
I'm running it right now in the 72 C10, and I'll tell you what, that thing's snappier than it's ever been. I have it out here at Scottsdale. I'm doing R&D on it. I'm going to run the track the whole weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, and then along with that, we're opening up more CDI box stuff. We have one CDI box right now. We're going to bring 2 more onto the market. With CDI boxes, we're going to bring coils, plug, wires. And then from there, I'll let you jump into any kind of things that you want to bring to the world.
We have air filters and drop bases and all that stuff that we just forgot about. So that's all getting released this next month. To every fitting, hose fitting,
all the supporting hose fittings.
I'm changing. I'm getting away from rubber. We're going to move to PTFE, which is because all these fuels are just being so damn corrosive to rubber. So we're going to advance in that line. We're going bigger. We got a system called the Nemesis coming out pretty soon. It's been a brainchild for a couple of years now, but we want to release it right. And that's a 4,500 flange based throttle body. It can house, how many injectors do we end up shoving in there?
It's going to be 12.
Yeah, we can do 12 injectors in it on a 4,500 flange. It has dual idle air control motors, dual throttle position sensors. That way you can make it streetable on top of being on a drag car if you wanted to. We already have one running on our drag car, and it woke it up. Interchangeable venturi, so you can change spray patterns and try different, just all kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
Changeable injectors. I mean, it's an insane amount of technology going on this one, but and the name is this suiting the Nemesis.
Well, it sounds like you guys are staying on top of the current trends and broadening your product base. I mean, if you're gonna, I mean, it's one, yeah, you can stay narrow-minded and grow one particular product and make it the best thing out there. But why not tap into those other markets and increase the name, get your name recognition and the brand out there, like you said, Bryce. Whether it's air filters or plug wires and all this stuff, you're gonna pop the hood. You're gonna see FiTech on the front of that EFI. Why not have it on the plug wires or on the hoses or on this and that? You might as well brand the crap out of everything you can get your hands on. It
drives me nuts when you pop a hood to show me a FiTech and I see Edelbrock, because that's the air cleaner you have on there, and it's like, no, And I've been trying to get the air filters out for like 4 years now, and it's been so long. But it's just like, it's like, okay, air filter over here, bigger problem over here. Let me get this problem done, and it's like, man, just get them done. Let's get them done. So I don't know. Product development is a huge team that we have. We have Jeremy, myself, and Bryce usually That's usually our team. There's 3 of us.
Yeah.
I have I don't know how many products I've drawn on bar napkin that's actually been made. So the 50,015 line, our intake pump line, I drew that on a napkin.
Yep.
And it looks identical.
It's very close.
It's identical. The force fuel was on a napkin, a bar napkin. Yep. And Jeremy makes a joke all the time. He goes, I'm just going to get you engineering napkins so you can just, we'll go out, we'll drink, and you just draw, you know?
Or just let you spend more time in the bar.
Yeah, that's a problem too.
Yeah. Well, we're always traveling, as you see. We're in Scottsdale right now.
Well, with all the peripherals you talked about, air cleaners, plug wires, and all the sort, and of course the mainstay, the throttle body injection. What about things like turbo kits where you kind of can bundle all these parts together and like here's a complete package?
So I have a 64 Chevelle that I picked up, and that one right now is getting a twin turbo LS set up on it that we're trying to package for selling. So we're working with a turbo company, a pretty well named one out of Canada, and is also here in, which is also here in Scottsdale. They have a home base here in Scottsdale, and we're trying to package as close to done kit that you can get. And we're doing it in 64 Chevelle because if you know that particular engine bay is not big. It's a very tight engine bay, and we're shoving a 6.2 LS in there with twin turbos. So,
but at the same time, a 64 Chevelle is a GMA body, and then that all of a sudden should be pretty close to working on a bunch of different applications.
And that's why we grabbed that one.
Yep.
That's definitely thinking big. You know, try and get a popular package into the smallest compartment. If it fits in the small compartment, well, guess what?
I'm good to sell it all the way up.
It's going to fit in a Chevelle C10. It's going to fit into just about anything you can get your hands on. If you can package it into that smallest compartment, you know.
And it gives me a reason to buy another car.
Well, exactly. Who needs another reason to buy?
It's R&D. It's totally
it's R&D. It's
totally research and development.
Yeah.
There's no desire for me to ever own a 1964 Chevelle. I had no desire.
Well, now you do. See.
And then another thing we're doing on the package side, since you mentioned it, we're doing a thing called the total package. We're hitting, I think it's the Tri-5, the Ford Mustang, 64 Ford Mustang, 65.
It's 64 to 67. I believe
we have some Chevelles in there.
69 Camaros, 67, 68.
So it's like your top 10 hot rod selling systems that we've sold. Like we've tracked what we've sold, and we're doing a thing called a total package, and it's a EFI gas tank, all your fuel lines and fittings, filters, and then an EFI system up to 600 horsepower, and it's one part number, complete kit, everything you need to put EFI in your car. That gets released, I think, next month.
Yep.
On the 1st, April Fools.
So I know that we have been taking some questions from the chat, but if you guys have anything that you want answered, make sure you put it in the chat. We'll do our best to get these guys to answer them for you. Also, don't forget that the Car Guy and Six Fan Show is a collaborative effort. And this week it's on my channel. It quite possibly might be on my channel again next month because Grant is going on vacation or something. I don't know. Anyways,
What's that word?
We do it back and forth. So we do split the duties between my YouTube channel and Grant's for hosting the show. So if you're not subscribed to Straight Six Fan, the link it should be down in the description by now. Make sure you head over there, check that out. Also, make sure you check out FiTech Fuel Injection on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff they post every Tuesday with some tech tips. You can go back. I know there's at least 2 years worth of videos on there of a lot of different stuff that you guys can do. So make sure you're following them there, social media. Also, don't forget the Car Guy and Six Fan Show is powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast. We partner with that podcast in helps to get both of our names out there into different audiences. So if you'd like to listen to John and I chat about random BS, or you want to get some more interviews from some great people, make sure you're tuned into the Get Out and Drive podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Had to do that little bit of housekeeping. We try and throw that in there a little bit once in a while too.
That works.
As we come in on the final 15 minutes of the show, if there's somebody out there right now sitting on the fence on whether they go out and they buy, spend $600 or $700 on that brand new carburetor, or they've got $1,000 burning a hole in their pocket looking to buy an EFI system. What's the one thing that you can tell them right now? Obviously, you want them to go into the EFI. That's the business you're in. But what's the one biggest benefit that you can tell them to choose your product?
Ooh, that's a tough one because there's a few different things I would say, but I'll give you one, and mine would be throttle response. That's an absolutely thing that I love the most about our system for myself.
Yeah. I mean, I'll bring one that's just off of the
We
feedback.
get Sue because he's here.
Yeah, I'm here too. But the big one that I would bring up is the fact of what I hear from people calling in all the time. It's the sake of reliability. And it's not reliability in this fact of the system's running long. We know about the 3-year warranty. I know that that's something that the system I'm comfortable with, but reliability in the fact of the vehicle. So when someone goes in and they go to crank the key to start the engine, they have that assurance that the engine's going to start. And that's such a huge thing that people have such a big compliment on, of like, I don't have to pump the gas anymore. I don't have to sit here, hold my foot on the throttle for this amount of time. It's no, you reach in through the window, crank the key, and it starts. It's that reliability, knowing it puts such an ease to all the customers.
Well, and on that note too, Bryce, as I can say, my 77 C10, I have no problem letting my wife drive it. And one of the things that I always feared when I was carbureted was just that, letting her drive that, knowing that, you know, she's got to sit there, she's got to pump it twice and turn the key and wait and blah, blah, blah. With the fuel injection, I have zero worries that she's going to be stranded halfway across town, not being able to start this thing or flooding it or whatever. Mm-hmm. Turn the key and go.
Yep.
So I think that's one big thing that I have found. You know, and just like you said, reliability of just not having to worry about that.
Yep.
I'd even take that a step further, because every vehicle I've ever driven had been fuel injected until my first project car, and I had to learn carburetors. And while one of your competitors' names does make a fairly simple carburetor, I got sick of having to deal with power valves sticking, and they're notorious for a certain seal constantly drying up over the winter. And so just that, again, that reliability of like, yeah, I don't have to mess with that. That's not an annual thing on the calendar anymore. It's, you know, yeah. It's just like, so anyway, it's I'm looking forward to someday having fuel injection in the project cars. But we had a question from, I wanted to say, pretty good one. Oh, Uncle Squirrel, have you guys ever considered, you know, since you do work with the computer side of things too, creating a management system that could do the 468 thing? You know, what I don't know if they call it modern day, but like the Hemis had it there in the early
cylinder deactivation.
Oddfire, or
no, that would be the cylinder on demand that GM does.
Oh, cylinder cut.
Displacement on demand. That's what.
Yeah. So that goes into the whole variable valve timing and shutting off stuff. I mean, to be honest with you, we kind of mentioned it before. We're hot rodders. So take that out.
So,
but 8 cylinders all the time.
But we are working with some variable valve timing engines right now.
Yeah.
So we're exploring our options. But we did take an LT kit and we did delete the variable valve timing, took the direct injectors out, and put them back up to where they should be, and we made more power, and the engine was a lot cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Just say that delete kit might come. The next question, I see that single barrel. I'm still in your line, but yeah, we're working on one. There's a way that we do things. One is spur of the moment, like Jeremy likes to just say, I made this today, and it's freaking amazing on some things. Other than that, we have a hit list, and there's actually some real thought put behind it to where we do a pool of how many motors are out there, how many vehicles have this unit on there, what did we see at shows when we walk around that's popular and that we want to fuel inject, and we put them on a list. Single barrel is right about in the middle of the list, to be honest with you. So we have stack injection coming. We're working with a stack manifold company we can control it. We've already proven that we can do it. We wanted them to improve a little bit on the butterflies that they were manufacturing, and they're doing that for us. and that's going to be out. So we'll have stack injection for everybody. Stack injection leads into us being able to do single barrel.
Yep.
So and not just single barrel, 2 barrels, 2 singles, 3 singles together, 4 singles together. That's on the paper, and that's coming.
Well, and that, I think one of the things that we need to look at as you're moving forward, I shouldn't have to tell you guys this. You're in the business. You got to look at what's popular. You know, what do you think you can sell? Just because there is a market out there for single barrel carburetors doesn't mean you go build them. You got to make sure you can sell enough of them to pay for the R&D, manufacturing, all that sort of thing.
Castings is no joke, man. You don't just go make a casting. You know, there's a lot to a casting, and it's expensive. And it's not easy. You know, a lot of what we do, our prototyping, like what's on my 72C10 right now, the throttle body that's on there is CNC and on a 5-axis. That one now is going to go to casting, because then we can drop the price down, make a really, really efficient product, and then we turn that over to the consumer where they can get a product at a reasonable price. If I did it all out of billet on a 5-axis CNC, I'd probably have to double the price.
Well, the good news is too, like, even though 1 barrel doesn't sound like a popular endeavor, like when you really get down into it across the global spectrum, like there's, you know, off-roaders and samurai guys, and, you know, I mean, there's just all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, you know, English, like all the British cars and things like that. So
I don't know if you guys know, FiTech's pretty well known across the globe. I have distributors all across the world, and me and Jeremy just took a trip over to Europe, and we were playing with MGs over there. We have a dealer over there, and we're developing manifold for those with our 2-barrel setup. We already have a functioning 2-barrel, so we'll have an MG line going out there pretty soon. And that goes into the Triumphs and everything else. That just crosses right into that. So you'll see a lot of that.
So I think if there's only one thing that I think that I could complain about, it's totally moot. But if you could just get those Easy Street or Go Street 400s to get that quadra bog sound when you step on it, I mean, we'd be doing all right, I think. Oh, I say that tongue in cheek. I really do enjoy the product. Excuse me. I really enjoy the product that I have, and I don't think there's any bigger supporter or ambassador to your product than Everything is Broken Garage in the chat there. He's kind of what steered me a little bit your way, and every time we talk about it, he's always big on your product. Very, you know, he loves what you guys are doing, and he supports you guys 100%, and as do I, which is the biggest reason why I reached out to Crystal to see if we could get you guys to be a part of this show. And
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the support from your fans as well that are talking in there and your buddies. It's huge. We take, you know, we're joking and we're laughing and giggling and having a good time here, but we take our jobs very serious, and we take our customers extremely serious. And with that being said, if you have a problem with us or a FiTech product, reach out to us. Seriously, give us. You might have been wronged in the past. There was different regime at certain times, and I think the right people are in charge now, and the right people are running the company that things can be done that couldn't be done in the past. And give us a shout out. You know, just give us a chance. Email us, direct message us, get your word out there. I mean, like I was telling you guys prior to the podcast when we were doing testing, is I get direct messages from people on my phone, and I reply to them. Yep. You know, and find a VP of another company that will reply to your direct message. This doesn't happen, but I do, because I'm prideful and I love my job and I love what I'm able to do. I'm blessed in my position, and if I can help you fix your car and get you on the road, that's all I want. I want you out there on the road. I want you coming up to our booth and asking us to check it out, and we tune cars for free at our booth. So come on by. You got a problem.
Well, in a world the world we live in now, there's no shortage of painting people and companies with the broad stroke brush, and there's this. It's easy to fall into this. Well, they do this. They're just that. They. But you never spend any time getting to know, like, there's real people behind these companies. And so I think what you've done tonight, you know, just giving a face to the company, and just, I mean, like you said, you're the VP and you're answering DMs. Like, dude, he's just like one of us. I think this is really cool that you guys. I just want to say thanks for spending a part of your Thursday evening with us.
Yeah. No, I mean, Crystal told me I had to, or else she was going to kick my ass. So you don't mess with Crystal.
Yeah, we don't get dinner until we finish.
Well, and that's the thing I have found in dealing with FiTech and Crystal as kind of my contact there, is she's a huge supporter of me. Anytime that I've ever had anything, she's looked right after things, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate you guys as a company, doing what you're doing, being as personable as you're being, reaching out to you guys when I was at SEMA and seeing Bryce, at the booth. I hope that you guys, I'm sure that you guys will be at PRI
Yep.
this year. I'm hoping to get there myself, so maybe we can
Come on by.
get together, have a beer or something like that while I'm there, and
Absolutely.
definitely
beer.
Get to know you guys a little bit better. Thanks so much for being a part of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show family, so to speak, because we really appreciate the big names, these big companies kind of taking their time to be with some small guys like us. The attendance has been around 20 people all night, and that's people coming in and out, which I think is pretty good. And we'll probably get several hundred views on the YouTube channel after the fact when this is done. So thank you guys. It's been a long day. We completely understand. We don't want to keep you any longer. I hope you guys have fun at the FiTech Spring Nationals this weekend, and that they don't keep you too long there on Sunday.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. Anytime you guys want us on, let us know. If we can make it happen, we'll be there.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
All right, so I'm going to say my goodbyes, and I'm going to let Grant close things out. So you guys stick around for a little bit of the after show, and we'll thank you guys for in the chat for being part of the show as well.
Well, yeah, again, just to Mike and Bryce, thank you for spending some time with us on a Thursday. But thanks to the fans, so everybody in attendance, and for the regulars that are here I was about to say week, but now every month. And of course, this wouldn't be possible without the Get Out and Drive podcast as well. So with that, I guess we'll just leave that as we'll call that a show. And I guess until next time, peace out.
All right.
Just